Welcome back, tribe. I have an episode here from this woman that says why I left the UK 4 times and will never go back. And her video is trending.
Right. Every day I'm seeing more and more videos on YouTube from people leaving the UK or planning to leave the UK. And if you clicked on this video, I'm guessing you're one of them. So if you're thinking of leaving the UK, but you're still not sure, here's the punchline. Do it.
Oh, no, don't fucking do this to me. Why? I had a feeling. Edit, to clarify, I am not blaming immigration issues in the UK. As an immigrant myself, I know that firsthand that immigration is a complex issue. I'm simply sharing my personal story to fulfill my dreams. What? Should I watch this? I don't know if I should watch this. I mean, look, I left England just a year ago, now live in Vietnam. England has gone to shit. The cost of living in particular was my reason for living. Ugh, why is it that women are so woke?
Now, unfortunately, due to a change in family circumstances, we had to move back to the UK several years later. And believe me, it was a culture shock. The first thing I noticed was the tiny houses and gardens. It seemed only the rich could afford a big house.
And the migrants, lady, please tell me.
But even their gardens were usually too small for a decent game of frisbee. So what was the point in that? And even though I couldn't articulate it at the time, it gave me this vague sense of claustrophobia. Suddenly it's like I couldn't breathe as deeply as I once could in all that lovely open space in Canada. And the other thing I noticed, even as a kid, but again, I couldn't articulate it at the time, but it was this general culture of negativity and judgment. And it's still quite a difficult thing to explain as an adult because it's not like English people are out and out rude and nasty. I mean, some of them are, but, as a culture, they're not. But it's more through sort of subtle social cues that you start to realise that it's wrong to be aspirational. In the UK, it's more like you have no right to get ideas above your station. And obviously that's a massive generalisation. And you wouldn't necessarily notice that unless you lived in the UK for a while. But tall poppy syndrome is definitely a thing. And I'm hearing more and more people talking about this now on social media. And I'm like, yeah, hello. I've been saying that since 1986. And I think in the UK, it has a lot to do with social class, which might be a bit more fluid than back in the day. But it's still there. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And I was actually well into adulthood before I really understood that being from a working class background was always going to be a major disadvantage for me. So for years, I just completely blamed myself for things not working out how I wanted them to. And don't get me wrong, I look back and realise I could have made some better choices. But I can honestly say that I always did the best I knew how to do at the time.
Well, the forward salad. Let's go.
And I wasn't entirely sure what was going to happen next. I was having some health problems. So I thought, right, I'll just go back to the UK for a bit about England on a summer's day. I'd also come to appreciate things like democracy, law and order, and a fair judicial system. These are things that provide a sense of stability and trust in society, and it's very easy to take that for granted until you see what life can be like for people in countries without them.
Like the UK, basically, right now, with the two-tier justice system.
So anyway, there I was, quite happy, working and studying away towards a better future. And I was enjoying time with my friends and being able to hop on a train and go and see my parents. And someone very special to me had some serious health problems at that time, which was concerning. So all this is to say that once again, I thought maybe, just maybe, I could finally make a decent life for myself in the UK. Now I'm older, more experienced, more qualified. So I looked around at jobs and properties, and things had noticeably got tougher since 2013. However, I did find a few jobs that seemed like a good match that might just be able to enable me to save a deposit for a small flat if I continue to live like a hermit and live with my friends for another few years.
By the way, they get taxed like 50% once you make over, I think, 50,000 pounds, something like that. Europeans' effective tax rate when you calculate everything is 50 to like 75%. That shit blows me away. When you calculate sales tax, VAT tax, luxury taxes for shit, all the income tax, everything, estate taxes, all that shit, 50 to 75%. What the fuck? They're being crushed by taxes in mismanaged state. Where are all those funds going to? Open borders? What are we doing for law and order that she was talking about earlier? Oh, I don't know, because there's two-tier policing going on in the UK right now. Oh my God, you make a meme, talk some shit, the cops will come to your house. But if you're part of a grooming gang and you've done some horrendous things to like 20 little girls, it's a slap on the wrist, my friend. Jesus.
So I sent off my CV and application forms and crickets. Radio silence. Either rejection or nothing at all. So it was back to Google searches and Skype interviews at weird times of night due to time differences. And this time I was offered what appeared to be a very nice teaching position in Malaysia. That wasn't necessarily the best paid, but it seemed like a great opportunity. Now, for reasons I won't go into today, that job in Malaysia turned out to be awful. But don't let that put you off. Malaysia has a lot going for it. I was just unlucky and ended up in a bad job, which can happen anywhere. Just don't ignore the red flags like I did. Anyway, 3 years in Malaysia, half of which was during a very strict lockdown, basically resulted in me getting complete burnout in my teaching job. And all sorts of other things changed during the pandemic. My personal circumstances changed, and honestly, I was just exhausted and wanted to be close to my family. So still based in Malaysia, I looked online for jobs and rentals back in the UK. And by that point, this was 2020, 2021. It was just hopeless. The UK, my own country, was basically off limits. I ended up having a good long chat with my parents, who were still based in the UK and also unhappy there. And so before I even left Malaysia, we came up with a plan. We decided to pool our resources and buy a house somewhere that would be big enough for the three of us to live in comfortably, preferably somewhere with a large garden or a bit of land, if possible. Now, again, that wasn't something we could comfortably afford in the UK, so the question was where? And we considered a few different places before settling on Ireland.
Surprise! Ireland's dealing with the same bullshit the UK is. There's no escaping it. The rot, bro. The mental mind virus, whatever you want to call this shit, is inescapable. But if you live in the countryside, you buy yourself some time, which is what they did. But the cities are absolutely dystopian, mass migrant hellholes. Oh my God.
Now, the reasons for that probably warrant a whole separate video, but let's just say for us, where we were all up to in our lives and what we needed, it ticked a lot of boxes at the time. So back in 2021, we found a 4-bedroom house on an acre of land, which cost us about 80% less than what something similar would have cost in the UK. And so, at the ripe old age of 44, I found myself living with my parents again, which I must admit I never predicted would be part of my life plan in middle age. But here we are. And like every set of circumstances, there are certain challenges to living here, but for the most part, it suits us pretty well. And I can put my hand on my heart and say I really did try to make a good life for myself in the UK. It just didn't happen for me. And at this stage, I think it's unlikely I'll ever go back. These problems I've mentioned, the cost of living, the lack of opportunities, they're only getting worse.
See what they replied to her comment down here. The Irish are leaving Ireland. Seems to be a lot of English people moving here to Ireland now. Jeez. This guy says, I've never been to the UK and I'm planning to leave based on my recent YouTube algorithm suggestions. The UK is effed. Tax, weather, poor government. Everybody knows it. I left my home country of Germany for the United States 45 years ago. There hasn't been a day where I haven't felt torn between the US and Germany. Strange, unsettling feeling. Both have pros and cons. We moved back to the UK from the west coast of Ireland a few years ago after a 15-year gap, and oh boy, has it changed, and not for the better. The UK is cracking and in a state of decline. You are right. We only see the videos of just how bad it's being, especially people getting arrested in their homes for memes. I'm in Eastern Europe or Balkan Europe, so none of that shit exists here. Migrants haven't really taken over, and life is still pretty normal. Like I said, here it feels like 1980s, 1990s America. It's very wholesome, very family-oriented, extremely safe for the moment. I don't know when mass migration may start moving over here as the country keeps getting richer and richer. And, like a small country like Romania may not be able to resist the bureaucracy of the EU that tries to push this woke bullshit on it. Poland's trying to resist, but even then it's not lasting too long. With the mass migration plus the cost of living plus the stagnant wages, it's causing a huge problem in housing. The prices of everything's going up, but on top of being taxed to death, like most Europeans are, it's putting them in a crisis that most Americans actually have no idea about, which is why they're leaving in droves. And you see so many of these videos. In America, people complain about like how antisocial people are and, shit being expensive and they'll complain about wages here too. But you still actually have an opportunity in high paying jobs. There is no opportunities in high paying jobs. All the opportunities in high paying jobs are in America. All the most talented Europeans come work in America on H-1B visas. To have an average wage in the European Union or wherever in Western Europe and tried to make it on top of mass migration that the United States isn't dealing with, not on that level, not where your entire neighborhood is transformed overnight. I mean, Americans, they have an open border, or they did before Trump, and there are 20 plus million migrants coming in. But America is so large that you could have absorbed, or they did pretty much. And for the most part, besides some communities where they were like black flighting them in and busing them in there, you didn't really notice as an average everyday American. But in a tiny country, dude, imagine bringing in millions of people in a tiny ass place the size of like Arizona. Millions of people, your communities are transformed overnight. Your cities turn into fucking third world slums. And on top of that, the pay is shit and you can't afford to live anywhere. And anywhere you probably could afford to live is probably taken over by some government program to house the migrants that just showed up and give them benefits and food stipends and all that shit. There's videos of them literally being asked, like street interviews, like, hey, how long have you been here? Like a couple years. And like, do you have a job yet? No. Like 70, what was the stat of that one? Something like 70% of them are on government benefits in Germany. 70% of the illegal migrants or migrants, whatever the fuck you want to call them, asylum seekers, whatever fucking name you want to give them. It's over 70%, something like 80% are on government benefits. A majority haven't gotten a job since landing in whatever country they decided to land in. So they're not integrating. They told us that multiculturalism was this great thing, that we're going to be culturally enriched and that these people are going to give us the diversity we need. And it's like they're creating their own parallel societies inside these countries and they're not integrating at all. They don't care to even learn the language. They don't care to follow the customs, the rules, law and order. Any of that shit doesn't matter. Or I just covered, no, not on a video, but I posted in the community post. Let me find that shit. 18-year-old Syrian Muslim girl, Ryan al-Najjar, was tied up with tape and then drowned in a ditch in the Netherlands by her father and brothers for being too westernized. When they were arrested, they defended themselves by claiming all honor killings are normal in their culture. You've been enriched, Netherlands, UK, and everywhere else in the West that wholesale brings millions of people in without them providing any actual useful skills in the world. Nobody cares about immigration if it's done right. Bring in the real doctors, the real engineers, the real rocket scientists, the real cutting edge AI, computer science researchers, people working on absolute like next generation technology and forwarding humanity. Please bring them all in. Every country wants those people. What the fuck are you bringing some dude that used to live in a fucking mud hut or in some backwoods part of the world and he was herding goats? And him and his 9 boys just show up on a boat and then like, here, this is London and you will now have to integrate into our system. Here, we're going to provide you stipends and food and all this other shit for you to survive here, and you're going to need to get a job. He's going to go back to doing what the fuck he was doing before. People do what they're used to, what they know. Imagine, bro, what a culture shock it is for that guy to try to assimilate in a first world country. Fuck, dude, it's unbelievable. Yes. Imagine trying to defend this shit too. Imagine you killed your own daughter as a brother and a father, bro. You tie him up, drop him off in a ditch to drown. Beautiful. Unreal. And they'll say you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a phobe, you're an extremist, you're all this shit for just simply stating our cultures do not match. You do not belong here. You are not integrating as you were supposed to. The government has failed both you and us, the citizens, the natives, because this has turned into a shit show. How many bombings, how many stabbings, how many cars running over? A car has run over somebody in Germany just the other fucking day. Again, car, SUV. They don't even describe the person anymore because we know what the fuck that means. This shit is crazy to me. Oh my God, man. Look at all these videos. My friends are leaving the UK. Should I go too? Everybody, bro, is getting the fuck out. Oh my God. Enough. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, let me know what your experiences are in Western Europe and what you're dealing with in your countries. Americans are at least starting to work on the issue. Europe seems to be doubling down on the woke bullshit. And far-right parties, as they call them, far-right, parties with common sense that want to just lock down the borders and deport all the leeches and the mooches off the government benefit programs. Those are gaining power. Every single year, it seems like every election cycle, they're doubling in voter turnout and numbers. Okay, it's a matter of time, dude. This will literally be how the EU becomes destabilized and people are going to pull out. There's going to be if the AfD wins, they already said they wanted a referendum. What if they get enough power to actually move these referendums forward and Germany exits the fucking European Union? Say goodbye. America's already trying to get out of NATO because the countries aren't pulling their fucking weight. And America's not trying to go into a World War III situation with Russia. Russia's not even the enemy of the United States like that. If you really want to say peer to peer, who's the biggest threat to the United States? It's fucking China. Everybody with half a brain knows it's China. They have the manpower, they have the technology, and they're the economic engine of the world. They literally have the most countries dependent on them for trade. They're the factory of the world. Their output, their production is absolutely fucking massive. We've outsourced all our factories to China. We fucked up big time in the United States. And they have state-funded enterprises that can compete with ours. It's insane. It's insanity, dude. I don't know. The future is going to be pretty much China versus a rising China versus a falling America. If America doesn't square away the bullshit with Russia and Ukraine, and it blows my mind that Russia has some of the largest. It's the largest country in the world with the most natural resources, and nobody in the EU or America was like, bro, why are we antagonizing these people? That's European culture. Just bring them into the EU. Can you imagine what would happen with a Europe and Russian partnership, and by extension, America and American enterprises going in Russia and developing out all that land, extracting all those resources, enriching everybody on both sides? But no, bro, we're going to be stupid and have more wars where white Christian men are killing other white Christian men over a plot of fucking land because somebody wanted to creep up NATO, and who knows, Russia said that's a red line and all this other bullshit and statecraft and backstabbing and horseshit. Amazing. Oh my God, dude, what a fucking world. Meanwhile, China's just silently rising to the top, breaking records in fucking nuclear fission or fusion. I don't even know what it is. Their AI systems are also very good. They've had quantum computing chip breakthroughs. It's insane. Just look at some of the shit China's doing. Meanwhile, we're over here fucking hitting each other with a stick over our head over Russia and Ukraine and shit. Man, end that fucking war already. Too many innocent people are just being killed over what? This is blowing my mind. Oh yeah, because U.S. aid funded the Maidan coup and all this stuff. Allegedly. Probably can't even say that out loud. We basically installed a puppet government that was conducive to America's foreign national interest and crossed a red line in process of doing that shit. Oh, but it was all to weaken Russia, our adversary. Bro, look across the other side of the ocean, you fucks. See who your real competitor is for American hegemony. Oh my God. Anyways, what a rant. I'll see you on the next one, guys.